everyone, it is Jess here from the Scrappy Sisters, and thank you for joining me for a Kitaholic Kits design team layout. Now, the minute I saw the rainbow paper in our kit this month, I automatically thought of that stunning layout by Dani Visser, surname, that she made quite a while back. I absolutely loved that layout. And I'd always wanted to scrap lift it, but I didn't have, the right paper, or nothing really called to me. Obviously, you didn't need to have a piece of paper with rainbows on it, but you needed to have something that you could sort of cut the holes out of and then put it back together. And nothing had really called out to me as being, that sort of similar style. But the minute I saw this paper in our kit, I knew that I had to make the Dani layout. It was just too gorgeous to pass up. So I pulled out a sort of semi-matching background paper in this sort of brownie color. This is actually the back. That's why there was that big white patch where a barcode sticker had been. But I thought it was a better color match than the other side, which was a lot more red. So now I've got the fun of trying to find where each of these rainbows came out of. To cut them out, I at first started each one with a little bit of my Stanley knife, like cut, a centimetre or two with my Stanley knife, just to sort of get the cut started. But then I went on in with my scissors and finished it off with my scissors. I just found working with my scissors a lot easier and had a lot more control than I did with the Stanley knife. So I, of course, am just like any old puzzle, starting with the outside and finding all of the rainbows that match around the edge pieces, and then I will dig on in and finish the center. So as you can see, I'm just popping each rainbow up on foam, and then I am going to, once that is all finished, I am going to jump ahead in just a minute and have the whole background finished. I can get to embellishing the rest of my layout. And now, if you do want to check out Dani's original layout, make sure you go over to her Instagram page, which is Dani VEE, over on Instagram, and you will be able to see the stunning layout that she made of this. And I am certain she'll have a process video for it too, so definitely check her out on YouTube as well. So here we go, just putting the last couple on, and you can see why this paper called to me and said you need to do the Dani V layout, because look at it. It is just divine. So I love the way this came together. You almost can't even see the background sort of browny red paper underneath until you look at it on the right angle. So I'm going to use those two photos that I took. I've already matted those. I matted those in white and then also in some colored cardstock as well. And they are pictures of some knitting that I was doing. So I was sitting under my cozy knitted blanket that I had knitted myself, having a cup of tea, and then a little selfie with my cozy knitted scarf that I had made. 2013, these photos were taken. So back before we had kids, there was not so many things to take photos of in those days. So I am literally going to call it Cozy Days, because why not? And I'm using the raw chipboards that came in our kit, but I will emboss those with some gold embossing, and I'll go through all of that as we come up to it in the layout. But I did just want to get them ready and sort of place them on the page where I'd like them to go. It's kind of having a bit of a diagonal sort of layout feel to this one. Very similar to how Dani's flowed as well. But I think that's just kind of the nature of how this layout falls together. It kind of makes sense with your two photos to go in that direction. But again, definitely head over and check Dani out over on her page as well. So once I have organized where my letters are going to go and where my photos are going to go, I start to have a play with my clusters. And I ummed and ahed with my clusters whether to keep them super monochromatic and only sort of use pinks. But I really loved that blue tag with the flower on it. it's just that little bit smaller than the other tags that were in the kit, and I think, or in the ephemera pack. I think it's just a little bit more user-friendly for me. I just, like that smaller size just a little bit better. So I'm having a look and having a dig through the collection, and even just the way I'm taking it off and putting it on and taking it off, I just can't decide whether to, stick with this sort of pinkies colours or whether to include some others. So I have a little bit of a play. And now I'm going to pull out the smaller pieces of ephemera to see what I can find. I really love that Kiss Hug tag, so I think I want to use that. Those sort of sticking out tags, corner tab tags, not corner, just tab tags, really spoke to me. I really wanted to use one of those. And this is where I started to think more seriously about the monochromatic, because I feel like the sentiment that's written on the words, some of them made more sense than others. Like, I think that pink one looks really good, but the actual sentiment itself, dream big, didn't really mean much in terms of these photos. Whereas the sort of more blue-based one fit a little bit better, as in the word did, but then that was introducing a lot more blue into the colour scheme that I hadn't been using. So I really wasn't sure which way I wanted to go with that. I find photo corners really hard, so I was going to try and put those on, side note, but that didn't work. But in the end, even though I leave that pink one there, I decide, no, this is too much pink, can't deal. I'm going to pull out the blue one a bit later and swap that out, because it keeps that tag, gives that tag a bit more purpose, because there's some blue in that bottom cluster and blue in the top cluster, and also the sentiment just makes more sense. So that's what I'm going to go with. Now I'm having a look at the sticker sheet and trying to decide what I can use off the sticker sheet. And I really don't know. There's one whole side of the sticker sheet is tags, which I will use in my project Life later on, but are not super, super helpful when it comes to building my clusters. Obviously, some of the larger tags can be great for a cluster base, but not so much for the rest of my cluster. So I'm still just having a look and having a think. And of course, I fall back on more florals. When in doubt, just use the florals. So that's what I do end up going with. So I'm going to pull it all apart again, so that I can start sticking everything down properly with my glue for once, instead of just laying it all out. And I'm also going to go ahead and emboss those stickers or thickers. So normally I don't include so much of that sort of decision-making process with you watching. That's why this video is a little bit longer today. But I just decided, I don't know why, I just decided this video that I would keep more of that in. Often I'd start the video now-ish, when I've already picked so much of my decision making and gone through looking at all the different ephemera and trialing things out. I've heard someone else mention it as auditioning different pieces of ephemera to see what's going to fit where. And once I have done all that, I then start the camera rolling for you to be able to watch the process. But for this time, I decided I'd make a tiny bit of a longer video and let you come along for the whole ride of just seeing my thought process. This one was quite a bit easier to plan out, because obviously I had the stunning layout of Danny's to kind of base mine off. Wasn't all completely original to my own brain, but it is still, obviously you still need your creativity and you still need some designs when it comes to using your own ephemera and the collection that you have to make this work. If it is 100% complete scrap lift and you have the same supplies as Danny, then I feel like that's too easy. Obviously we do it, and there is nothing wrong with that, people. Credit where credit's due, but there is nothing wrong with that. But when you're just taking it's almost like taking a sketch and then using your own collections to create with that sketch. That's kind of what you're doing here when you're taking someone else's layout and then using your own ephemera to work with that layout. So yes, once I have stuck all this down, the point of all of that, by the way, was just to explain to you that normally I don't let you watch all of that decision making, and I usually start the video rolling once all the decision making has been done. But in this case, it was a lot quicker of a process because I had the Stunning Dannies to watch along with. Oh my goodness, that was a lot of words for such a small sentence. I apologize. So I'm just about to go and start embossing my letters because I am up to sticking those on. I do not keep very much of this in. I am sure you guys have embossed before, but just in case you haven't, I do keep a small section of this in. So I am using the Versa ink, which is kind of like your glue, and I just push that straight down. I do have one of those static collector bag thingies, but I don't tend to do that when I am doing thickers or something like that because I find it really hard. So I usually only use that static brush or that static matte thing when I'm working on paper. So then I'm really carefully pulling out my already embossed, covered with embossing powder thickers. Yes, I tipped the entire jar of embossing powder on it. I just find the more I tip on, the better. I just get a better coverage, and then I just collect it all. Yes, I'm sure there is excess wastage, but the amount I use my embossing, I'm totally cool with that. Then I bring it back, and I'm going to hit it with my heat gun. And I go ahead and do this process, I think, 3 times to just get a complete flawless coverage of all of those letters. I think, it took about 3 times to do. So a little bit of a time consuming, but they look 100% perfect now. So definitely worth that effort. So now they have been attached. My clusters are done, in the top and the bottom. So now I'm basically ready to just work on a few little finishing touches. What else do I feel that my layout needs just to finish this baby off? Now, of course, there's going to be splatters. I can never make a layout without splatters, but I'm just checking out if I want to add anything else to the page. But I think she is done. I will do some enamel dots just because they're cute. So I pull out the Bow Bunny enamel dots that came in the kit, and I just add a couple of those on in that. It's not quite pink, it's more like the peachy color, I think. I thought that was a nice little color match for this one here. Then I will do some gold splatters. I am so close to being out of my gold. I think I am ready. I think I've mentioned this a few times, but now I am officially ready to pour the last tiny little drop into my next packet of gold and just move on. So here she is, this beautiful finished layout. I absolutely loved making this one, and I'm super happy with the way it came together. I just love that sort of dimension that those popped out rainbows have on the page. I just think it really makes it. And thank you so much for coming along and watching this layout with me. Thank you, everyone, and I will see you all next time.